is action in the information society and with regard to the spectrum. It's more important to give certainty about when certain things are going to happen than to take decisions that will generate uncertainty because they will be impossible to carry out. So it's important to provide transparency and legal certainty on the basis of certain facts, established facts, so that it will be possible to open up, say, competitions within a year for certain frequencies, even if they won't necessarily be available for the next 3-4 months, because the operator that can obtain a certain frequency in a year's time will be able to roll these out within 3 or 4 months after obtaining them. Moreover, the designers of technology, if they have certain dates to work on, they can already start preparing the equipment that will operate on those frequencies. For example, if we were to put the 800 megahertz services available, we would find we've scarcely got any equipment capable of functioning in this range of the spectrum. So you have to take decisions quickly on what the milestones are going to be for the short, medium and long term, and lay down a clear roadmap that will allow all of the stakeholders, all of those involved in this process, the manufacturers, developers, designers, telecommunications operators, investors in the network, to know what will become available at what point. So, of course, the sooner we can make the resources available, the better, but we mustn't lose sight of the need for certainty and legal certainty and security. As regards the responsibilities of the member states, which they have to assume collectively and then implement them individually, well, I'll send a very faithful report of what you have said to my colleagues from other member states to ensure that this is indeed what happens. And what has been said on a number of occasions this morning is that each country is starting off on a different footing as regards the availability of spectrum resources. So it makes sense to leave certain margins to be able to change certain sections of the spectrum from one use to another. This is not something that can be done overnight. But it's true that we have to keep up the pressure, to keep up the pace. We can't move at the sort of pace on this that we had 5, 8, 10 years ago. We have to step up the pace now. That's clear.
Okay, thank you. The floor is open. I will now give the floor to my honored colleague, another honored colleague, Ms. Trautmann.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Puisque les États membres ont eu beaucoup de...
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Member States have had a lot of messages. So I want to come back to a few key points, things that strike me as key. These are things which I should like to feature in the roadmap that comes out of this Spectrum Summit. So I'm going to speak to the Commissioner and to Chairman Viola. I'm grateful to him for what he said, for the important contribution he made, because now it's possible for us to think that the RSPG has made a lot of progress towards drawing up its proposal for this route map. I'm very much in favor of consensus, but I like to check that I've got a consensus on paper, because everybody has been talking about spectrum as a public good at this summit. but that, remember, was an expression that was deleted from the telecoms package, and I could give you a whole long list of things that were not accepted then, not accepted by one party or another, or which were simply left aside. So my experience urges me to return to a few key points to check up. First of all, do we have the resources? Do we now have the resources? Can we be sure that we have information of the use of the spectrum in all 27 member states? Secondly, can the member states give us their use plan for the next 5 or 10 years? I think we need to have something in the route map about how to be sure that spectrum is available and how to be sure that member states' plans are compatible with the objectives which are going to be laid down in the radio spectrum program. Next, the date is fundamental. And there are 2 points that concern me, Mr. Chairman and Madam Commissioner. Several dates were mentioned, including by Minister Ross. 2015, 2020. But what is going to be the strategy? Are we choosing a date straight away, as Pilar del Castillo suggested? What are we choosing today, and what are we going to do for 2015, for 2020? There are several dates, and then there are several figures. Among the different speeches, I've heard different figures about the amount of investment when you're talking about the spectrum or all the technologies, including satellites. I think either way, you need verifiable figures that represent a shared diagnosis. And that applies to the content as well as to the RSPP. Now, the 800 megahertz, I think, is going to be the touchstone. If we miss our targets on that, then we'll have no international credibility. And we can say as long as we like that we can be the best, that we've got technology, we've got research, we've got everything, nobody will believe a word of it. So that, I think, is where we will see just how coordinated we are. Now, Mr. Chairman, you a moment ago spoke about assistance for individual countries with the management of interference and with relations with neighbouring countries. This needs to be something introduced into the roadmap. And then on the question of band widths, we need to put in a principle which would say that the radio spectrum program policy procedure should include